Good morning. Good morning from the Bulloch County Historical Society. Today's Tidbit is brought to you by Georgia Humanities. We received a grant from them to produce 24 tidbits during 2022. Bill and I ventured out to Southwest Georgia when the COVID pandemic finally allowed a little freedom. We took the SAM train to Plains, Georgia, and we went on our own tour of Andersonville Prison. Andersonville is both a beautiful cemetery and an area that upon reflection will break your heart. Something very interesting to me is that this is still a very active cemetery. There is a beautiful funeral home at one of the gates, run by the United States government because this is a United States national cemetery. Veterans and their dependents may be buried here. Andersonville, Georgia is located in southwest Georgia in Macon County. It was known as Camp Sumter and was a Confederate prisoner of war camp during the final 14 months of the American Civil War. It held 45,000 Union prisoners, and nearly 13,000 of these died, mainly from scurvy, diarrhea, and dysentery. The prison was originally 16 acres and enclosed by a 15-foot high stockade. This was increased to 26 acres almost immediately. There was a space of about 5 feet by 6 feet for each prisoner. The dead line, D-E-A-D line, was approximately 19 feet inside the stockade wall. It demarcated a no man's land that kept prisoners away from the wall. Anyone crossing or even touching this dead line was shot without warning by sentries on the stockade. It is possibly that the modern term dead line, in a sense of a time limit, is derived from this. I didn't know this. Food was very scarce for both the prisoners and the Confederate guards. Scurvy was prominent, as there were virtually no fresh fruits or vegetables. Living conditions were filthy. The only source of drinking water originated from a creek, which also served as the camp's latrine. This was filled at times with fecal matter from thousands of sick and dying men. Hookworm disease, a condition not recognized or known during the Civil War, has been said to be the major cause of fatalities among the prisoners. How so sad. There were no new outfits to be had, and often your clothing was falling to pieces. Garments were taken from the dead. It was said by John McElroy, a prisoner in Andersonville, quote, "Before one has fairly culled his clothes would be appropriated and divided, and I have seen many sharp fights between contestants trying to get these clothes." End quote. At the time of the Civil War, the concept of a prisoner of war camp was still very new. It was late 1863 when President Lincoln demanded a code of conduct be instituted to guarantee prisoners of war the entitlement to food and medical treatment, and to protect them from enslavement, torture, and murder. Andersonville did not provide these, and the camp was more closely akin to a primitive society. A group of prisoners, calling themselves the Andersonville Raiders, attacked their fellow inmates to steal food, jewelry, money, clothing. They were armed with clubs and killed to get what they wanted. Another group started up, organized by Peter Aubrey, to stop the larceny, calling themselves the Regulators. They caught nearly all of the raiders, who were tried by the Regulators' judge named Peter McCullough. Punishment included running the gauntlet, being sent to the stocks, and in 6 cases, hanging. Planning an escape from this camp was routine among the thousands of prisoners. Most men formed units to burrow out of the camp using tunnels. Once out, escape was nearly impossible due to the poor health of the prisoners. Playing dead was another method of escape. The death rate of the camp being around 100 per day made disposing of bodies a relatively relaxed procedure by the guards. Prisoners would pretend to be dead and carried out to the row of dead bodies outside the walls. As soon as night fell, the men would get up and run. I think I would have done this. Once Captain Henry Weirs learned of this practice, he ordered an examination by surgeon of all the bodies taken out of the camp. Confederate records showed that 351 prisoners escaped. This was only 0.7% of all prisoners. After the war, Wirtz was tried by a military tribunal on charges of war criminals. He was found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging. The prisoners' sufferings at Andersonville was a great factor in affecting public opinion in the North regarding the South after the close of the Civil War. This is indeed one of the saddest stories in the history of our great state of Georgia. Let us not forget. Thanks for joining me. Bye.